pretty sad day in the life of Bryan. I actually had to retire my good old trusty warrior hat, and it's pretty big disappointment. This thing has been with me for the last few years. I actually got it from a person who watched my channel and had actually had one made for himself and told me that he got it at Lids. So I went to my local Lids and tried to have them make me one, and they weren't able to. The guy just, I don't know if he didn't know how to work the machine that made the custom hats or what, but my local mall wasn't able to do it. So I was able to send this guy the money and actually have him run down, pick me up a hat. He shipped it back to me, and this has been one of my favorite hats that I've ever owned. So it was a sad, sad day when I had to pull this off my head and know that it wasn't going to be going back on. So we're going to have to retire the hat, but it is what it is. You know, it gave me a few good years. Now, today's video, we're actually going to be getting in and answering a few of the questions that you guys have asked over the last couple months that I haven't myself been able to get in and reply to. So be sure to stick around. What's up guys, Bryan here. Thanks for tuning in today. So like I said, in this video, we're actually going to jump in and answer a few of the questions that you guys have asked over the last couple months that I haven't had a chance to get in and reply to. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now the first one that we had is actually going to be from SD Mall Crawler, and he asked, how are those Raider foot pegs working out? Any higher clearance, and does it have the bottom feeler to scrape off? The Raider pegs, I love them. They are 10 times better than the floorboards I was using. I had the Yamaha mini floorboards, and I don't know what it was about them. I just never really liked them. My foot seemed to slip off of them. It didn't have enough room for my boot to actually get in there and shift the gears right. And these are working out a lot better for me. They do still have the little feeler on there so that when you're scraping, you can scrape that rather than actually getting down scraping the full peg. So overall, I love the pegs. They work out 10 times better for me, and the best thing about them is there's no modifications needed. You can take the pegs and put them directly onto the Warrior. Now the next question that we got is going to be from Travis Escobar, and he asks, what exhaust upgrades to have that nice deep rumble? Mine just backfires like cray, even after the AIS and left side cleanup. Well, I'm running these Samson ripsaws, and overall, out of all the exhausts that I've run, these are one of my favorites. They have that nice deep rumble, and I love the fact that when you let off the throttle, they've got that pop, 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 pop that you hear. And that thing, man, I love pulling up next to a car, you know, having it up at 3,000, 4,000 RPMs, just letting off, and watching the people next to you look at you when it goes off at them. Now, one thing about the popping on deceleration that you're talking about, the left side cleanup's not really going to help that, but the AIS removal will. Now, if you're still experiencing quite a bit of backfire after doing the AIS removal, I would also check into getting a decent tuner and a decent tune on your bike, and that will help clear up a lot of it. Now, if you're still experiencing it after that, I would check into possibly having an exhaust leak. Now, there are a few different places on your exhaust where you can actually come up with these leaks. So I would check not only at the headers and the gaskets, but I'll also check through the exhaust pipe and any connections that you've got. Now, the next comment isn't really a question, but it's actually a comment. If you watched my video, my last video, where I talked about floating, where we get in a canoe and we float down rivers and get drunk.
Down in Missouri, one thing we like to do is floating, where you take and you get into a creek and you just ride that creek down. You have somebody drop you off, you know, 8-10 miles up the creek, and you just either get in a canoe, raft, whatever, load it full of beer, you know, speakers, whatever, and just float down that damn river getting drunk.
And it's just a good time. But we had another guy comment on that video, and he is from Ohio. And this is Austin Burris, and he said that they call it cabrewing, which totally makes sense because you get into a canoe and you float down the river and drink. So cabrewing totally makes sense, man. I love that. That is something that it makes more sense than just floating, you know, to me. So thank you for commenting, Austin, man. I appreciate that. Now, we actually had another guy comment as well, and I will mess this name up. Miku Grumblad. And he is actually from Finland. Sorry, I know I mutilated the name. And he says, we do floating in Finland as well, and we call it, I don't even know. I don't know. Really fun. Also got some 20,000 miles on my Warrior this summer already. 20,000. Sorry. 20 kilometers. I don't know if he's saying 20,000 miles or 20,000 kilometers or 20 kilometers because it's 20K. It's maybe 20,000 kilometers. I don't know. But either way, if he's put 20,000 kilometers, man, you put some miles on that bike already this summer. Thanks to COVID-19. So apparently you've had some time to sit at home. Runs great with the BAK and new plugs. And got low and mean fenders to it as well. Only Fat Boy back tire and forks next year's project probably. Have a great one, Bryan, from your fellow warrior brother in Finland. Miku, man, awesome. I actually took the time to look up that floating, like I said, I can't, Kajakayunta, I don't know. But I actually took the time to look that up, and that looks crazy. I say my rivers get congested with traffic, but that looked nuts. I will put a picture up from the website, and you can see, man, there are just people packed on this river. And I've actually been on a couple floats like that, but not every float is like that down here in Missouri. I mean, they get pretty packed, but not like that, man. I mean, you run into people, you know, you might have 3 or 4 people, you know, down the river with you, but that looks crazy. Now, our next question is going to be from Brandon Kleindienst. Sorry if I mess these names up, guys. I am not the greatest. He says, great videos. I have an 06 Warrior and I want to reduce the force with your hand needed to disengage the clutch. Should I do the Barnett spring conversion by itself, 2-plate or 3-plate mod, or just leave the whole thing stock? I am trying to reduce the effort at the clutch lever. I have an exhaust and tuner. Other than that, it's stock. I do a lot of town riding and it takes a toll on the forearm. Thanks. All right, Brandon, check it out. One thing that you can do is that 3-plate mod. Depending on what springs you go with, it may actually give a stiffer pull. The gold springs are going to give the least amount, but if you upgrade to the green or the red, you're going to have a lot stiffer pull. It's going to require less distance on the pull to disengage that clutch. So it may be a little bit stiffer, but it's going to disengage, you know, say you disengage at halfway point now, it may disengage at a quarter-way point. So you're going to have to relearn your friction point on your clutch when you do this, but the upgrade of the 2 and 3 plate will actually allow you to have less pull on it. Not necessarily less force, but less pull on it. Now, personally, if I wasn't experiencing any kind of slipping on my clutch, I would probably leave it alone. Your stock diaphragm, depending on how many miles you have, may have a little bit of wear in it, and that may actually be the easiest pull. But that said, if you do think that it will help, you know, to do the 2 or 3 plate mod where you've got a little less travel, that may be a reason to actually open it up and get in there. I would myself personally go ahead and do the Barnett upgrade while I was in there, just so that I didn't have to have that in the future. All right, now our next one actually comes from Junction Blue. And he says, I dig your channel, very informative, from Brooklyn, New York. I own a Honda VTX 1800C, CBR 1000RR, and a Yamaha Warrior that I picked up a month ago. I really dig the Yamaha, so I'm selling my VTX. One question, can't seem to find the proper copper plugs for the Yamaha to complete my tune-up. Any advice? By the way, I have a K&N filter, Cobra exhaust, plus power commander. Did 4 quarts of AmSoil 2050 and a K&N filter, 18,000 miles on her. Need those plugs. Thanks for helping us with all your DIY info. Stay safe and keep up the good work. I use NGK plugs. I will leave a link down below to the copper plugs for NGK, and while I'm at it, I will go ahead and leave a link for a few different other copper plugs as well. So check those out. Now, the copper plugs are going to be your best for performance. There's no doubt about that. They are a lot better at conducting the electricity. Now, if you're not trying to squeak every bit of performance out of the bike, though, you might look into upgrading to like your Iridium plugs so that you have more time in between your plug changes, since it is such a bitch to do on these Warriors. Now, me myself, I almost got a VTX 1800. That was a bike that I went and looked at, and it was going to be either that or the Warrior. And I'd owned a Warrior previously, but the VTX was one that really had piqued my interest. And I had actually rode on one, and I was actually getting ready to get it. And the guy who rode 4 hours to meet me, you know, we had changed bikes and everything, and I rode it around, and when I got back after test riding, he's like, yeah, it's a salvage title. And I was like, I could have saved you a 4-hour ride, man. There's no way I'm gonna take this salvage title bike. So, didn't end up getting it, but a couple weeks later, found the Warrior, and I'm super glad I got the Warrior, honestly. I mean, the VTX would work. It probably has a lot more aftermarket parts that would be a lot easier to find, but The Warrior, it's rare. I love it. So it is what it is. Now our next comment actually comes from DJ Slushy, and he says, hey, great video. I'm stuck on the rubber that goes around the headlight. My old headlight doesn't have one. Is it something I need to buy separate? If so, what's the exact name? Thanks. DJ Slushy, I will leave a link down below, just like the plugs, to a rubber bezel is what it is. And I think you get it from J&P Cycles. It's under 15 bucks maybe. And it just covers up that whole ring around the light and makes it look a lot more professional, a lot more finished. Now, unfortunately, this is something that you'll have to buy. It doesn't come with the stock headlight, doesn't come with any headlight that you're gonna buy. So I will leave a link down below, but like I said, it's not that expensive and you can pick it up pretty cheap. Next comment comes from Top Shelf, and he says, are there any advantages to leaving your Cobra fuel tuner on with Ivan's tune? Now, this is one that I see a lot. A lot of guys will confuse the ECU and the tuner, and they think that if you get one, you don't necessarily need the other. I've seen this, like I said, so many times, and one time I saw it on Facebook, and a guy actually made a comment that really put the whole thing into very good terms to where you can understand. And the way he put it was, Ivan's ECU changes the bike and almost makes it the way you would want it from factory. It just smooths it out. It raises that rev limiter. It does, all these different things to make the bike better. Now, when you get that bike and you do any kind of upgrade, you're still gonna want a tuner. And when you actually fill out the paperwork to send your ECU off to Ivan, you list down what mods you've got on your bike, and he sends you a map for your tuner. So just think of the ECU as doing a rough tune and the tuner more fine adjustment of it and getting it, really dialed in. And, Ivan's tune is honestly one of my favorite mods for the bike, especially for the price. It really just smooths the bike out. It really opens it up and kind of just lets it come, like I said, the way it should have been from the factory. It raises that rev limiter up to 5,500 in all gears, and it makes it a lot smoother on and off the throttle, and it takes away that heavy engine braking that these Warriors are known for as well. Next one comes from Craig Hanna, and he says, great video. Thanks for all the work you've been putting in. A couple questions. Number one, are you going to do high compression pistons ever? Craig, I haven't decided. I don't know. I tell myself that I will, and then I think about it, and I'm like, man, do I really want to go that far with the Warrior? I love the Warrior, and my thing about it is, if I really want speed, I've come from a sport bike. I'm never going to get the same amount of speed that I'm going to get on that sport bike. So if I want speed, I may as well just buy a sport bike, jump on that, and get that. I love the Warrior for cruising around town. It's got torque for days. It turns heads, even being almost 20 years old. And that's what I love about the Warrior. The high compression pistons, it's good for certain people. If that's your only bike and you're looking to squeak every bit of performance out of it, that's probably the road that you want to go. But me personally, I just haven't decided yet if I want to go that far with the Warrior. So we'll see. And his second question was, can the Cobra tuner and Ivan's flash work together, or is it a one or the other deal? And just answered that one. Like I said, this is a question that you get quite a bit, and you see it all the time, whether it's on Facebook, the forum, even, me getting the question on my, YouTube channel. So this is one that I was glad to get and glad to be able to actually make a video to kind of tell you guys the difference on the two and that they do actually work together. Now, our next question actually comes from Allison Tim, and he says, which oil is there, engine or gear oil from the gearbox? Gearbox is going to have gear oil. You're going to want to use, I think it's a GL4 gear oil, 80 weight, maybe. I can't remember. I use MT90 myself, Redline MT90, and that's just my personal preference. I will leave a few links down below to a few different gear oils also, so if you're in the market for those, you can check those out. Well, there we have it, guys. Hopefully this was able to get in and answer a few of the questions that I haven't been able to get to in the last couple months. Now, if this is something that you guys enjoyed watching, be sure to like and comment and let me know, and if it is, maybe I can do a future video where I get to a few more of them. If you have any questions, comment down below and I'll try to get to those as well. Like I said, guys, be sure to like and share this video, and if you're not subscribed, scroll down, hit that subscribe button and that bell so that you get notified of all my new videos as soon as they come out. Next week, I think we're actually going to be getting out and finally changing that oil. I haven't done it yet. I haven't been getting a whole lot of rides in. It's actually been raining quite a bit lately, so the bike's been sitting in the garage, and I need to get out and change that oil, and hopefully I can do that. So be sure to be watching for that, guys. Other than that, we'll see you next time.